Welcome back to the Important Nonsense Podcast. 32 teams in 32 days. We are here to discuss the Meg 2. Wait, no, I'm sorry. We're here to discuss the Kansas City Chiefs. Taking you around every team in the NFL, getting you prepped for your drafts that are coming up at the end of this month. Today is the 5th of August, and we are going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs. Why do you hate the Kansas City Chiefs so much? That's the byline for this show, folks. That's the feedback that I always get, and we are going to be very clear about that. Nobody hates the Kansas City Chiefs, but we might hate some of their ADPs. We're going to the one guy from Wichita.
Well,
Neil.
also Chargers fan.
Neil Smith, Mike Manning, at that FF Nerd, Jason Draven. Couple quick PSAs. As always, this is based on 12-team PPR redraft. We will be discussing a lot of the rankings that we'll be using come courtesy of the Fantasy Pros ECR. We are a Fantasy Pros affiliate. We will also be referencing our own rankings. We also will be using depth charts courtesy of Player Profiler. Shout out to Jack Kavanaugh. And within that, check out our fourth wall, so fourthwall.com/important nonsense. Sign up for our Discord. We will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Chop it up with us all season long. Keep Jason company. Jason needs people to talk to. Otherwise, he gets very lonely. You can also discuss the demise of the Pac-12, the 4-pack, as it were.
The no-pack. I doubt any of them is going to stay.
The no-pack.
The ones that are left don't have a choice.
Right.
Wah-wah.
Very much. We also, if we have time, we'll discuss the Meg 2 and various other shark movies. So we're going to try to get through all the boring football to talk about the Meg 2. That is, no one cares about that. We're going to talk about that.
And most importantly, like and subscribe our YouTube channel.
Yes, like and subscribe our YouTube channel, which is likely how you are watching this, unless you are already watching it on our fourth wall. And if you are, we love you. Shout out to you. You are family. The gentlemen, the Kansas City Chiefs. This is historically one of the most divisive shows that we do. I think people sometimes misunderstand some of the advice we give. We spent some time yesterday talking about projection inflation and ranking inflation that happens as a result of that. It's a common thing when you're talking about very good NFL teams. No one will debate that the Kansas City Chiefs are a high-powered offense, successful NFL team.
Great
They
coach.
won the great coach. They won the Super Bowl last year. They have a lot of good players. No one's going to debate this with you, Kansas City Chiefs fans. So before I can already hear you typing, we don't hate you or your team. We don't hate Patrick Mahomes. Like, no one hates this. My point to you that we're going to make again, just like we did yesterday with Jacksonville, good teams tend to get inflated for fantasy. Not everybody can return value every single week. That is not how the NFL works. And as we will get into, you got a lot of players with a lot of ADPs. More players than could ever actually return value at their ADPs, given total amount of snaps taken, even on a good team. That's what we mean when we talk about projection inflation. And we're going to go through this as we do, position by position, player by player. And let's just start with Patrick Mahomes. That's might as well, right? He's good at football. He's the QB1 for fantasy. QB1 should translate to about 22 overall. Not how I would do it, but that's the ECR. His ADP is 15. Not 15 like QB. No. 15th overall. My note is this. No quarterback is worth 15 overall. Historically, no quarterback is worth anything close to a first-round pick, unless you're talking about 2017 Peyton Manning, the Broncos. It's statistically unlikely that Mahomes will be able to put up a point. Now, if you're playing in a 6-point passing touchdown league, yeah, go ahead. Knock yourself out. Still probably wouldn't do it if it's me. But that's what we're discussing here. Patrick Mahomes, 15 overall. That's his ADP. I won't roster any Patrick Mahomes. Will either of you?
I'm too cheap, man. I'm not doing it. You know me. I like bargain shopping. So we're doing this. I'm going bottom of the barrel. Let's see what I can get at a discount.
If I'm in one QB league, there's zero chance I'm touching Patrick Mahomes in any way whatsoever. Just because of the fact of the players you could get otherwise and the impact they could have on your roster. Last year, he was QB1 by about 15 points. in terms of overall points, and he was like QB2 in points per game. With losing Tyreek Hill and having Juju Smith-Schuster as his wide receiver 1. He's a phenomenal talent. Best quarterback in the league. I'm not drafting a quarterback in the second round.
Me either. Can't do it.
I mean, you're looking at players like, all right, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson. Like, these are guys that I would much rather have over any quarterback because of the impact they can have on your team.
But he is going to score probably the most fantasy points.
That's what
Just
happens
throwing
when
that out
you're
there.
a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, that's by nature of the position. The general argument here is why you don't take a quarterback that early is because I can't backfill a historic.
RB1.
Maybe not talking about last season Devontae Adams, but I'm talking about a historical Devontae Adams. I can't replace that at any level. Whereas because I only start one quarterback, I can get replacements typically. It's easier to do that than it is to replace a true wide receiver 1 or a true RB1, even a Derrick Henry. Really hard to do. And you play multiple players at that position, at those positions, running back and wide receiver. You need good options. I would much
swap around quarterbacks a lot easier than you can swap around or waiver wire dive for wide receiver, running back, any other position. Tight end and quarterback, you can make do.
Yeah. You can band-aid it, wallpaper it over, and keep rolling along.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with running backs and wide receivers. So if someone in your league wants to blow an early second-round pick on Patrick Mahomes, they're probably going to have depth issues. That's likely how that's usually how that translates when you're constructing a roster. It's why I always maintain, as Jason kind of put it, go bargain hunting. I'd much rather wait and get my quarterbacks in the 9th, 10th, 11th round and get real value at the position, because what's messed up is you're still talking about a QB1. Not the QB1, but a QB1. And I'd much rather live in a world where the top end of my skill position players at running back and wide receiver are the true top end of the league than deal with my quarterback being good. I can always make trades later on to get a good quarterback as we get closer to the playoffs.
The easiest position to trade for.
It's not hard. It's not hard. So, Chiefs fans, before you start adding me on Twitter or adding any of us or blowing us up in the comments, hey, I'm happy for the engagement, even if it's hate mail. I'll take it. But at the same time, just understand what we're saying to you, which is we don't hate your quarterback. We acknowledge how good he is. We don't hate your team. But for fantasy football purposes, this is pointless and it's kind of stupid. It's not a good strategy.
Well, and through the first 16 weeks of the year last year, there were 45 different QB1s. I mean, make it simple for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's so
Great stat.
do whatever you want, but we can't recommend as a strategy spending out on a Mahomes. Running back is an interesting position for the Chiefs because, as I referenced, you got a lot of ADPs on this team. You have 3 running backs being drafted for the Chiefs. I can't say I understand why, but we'll go through them in turn. First out of the chute, Isiah Pacheco comes in as the running back 29, translates to about 64 overall by rank. His ADP is 74. I'm going to be very clear about my feelings on this. I won't touch Isiah Pacheco with a 20-foot clown pole.
Yeah,
That is
expensive.
a hard pass.
I feel like Jerick McKinnon is going to end up on a lot of waiver wires again this year.
No, I doubt it. Because if Jerick McKinnon comes in as the RB41, translates to about 126 overall by rank. It's being drafted at 122 overall. Sorry, Jason. You did too good of a job, man. You did too good of a job last year making people aware of Jerick McKinnon, and now he's being drafted.
Well, if
about
we're
Clyde
looking at them, they have their set roles, and I think those roles are going to continue. Pacheco is going to be a solid, dependable option. He's not going to have a whole lot of upside, but from week 11 to week 18 last year, he had 10-plus points in every game but one. And in the one game he didn't, he had 8.7. even in PPR, which he does not catch the ball at all.
That's why I won't roster him, by the way.
Yeah.
You've hit upon the reason.
But he also never had more than 15.6 or 16.2, sorry. So 10 to 16 is like, that's what he's going to do.
It's the difference between whether or not you fall in the end zone.
Yep. He only had 4 touchdowns there.
Oh, okay.
So, like, he's just going to dependably have a solid week. Nothing great, but solid. While McKinnon, on the other side, is sitting there and is second in the NFL behind only Travis Kelce in red zone receptions for touchdowns, which is ridiculous for a running back.
It's a weird stat, but it is true.
Yeah. 8 of his 9 touchdowns came in the red zone.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And it's probably going to repeat itself because of the wide receiver room.
So you're talking about 7th round pick for Isiah Pacheco.
Who's going to be only 10 to 16.
Right.
Or McKinnon, who is going to be
11th round pick, actually, for Jerick McKinnon, who was the second in the league in red zone receptions.
And
this is not hard.
He's the epitome of a PPR, like, darling.
Right. And as we just said, this is all PPR focused. So if we were talking about standard, my advice changes. But in this regard, Jerick McKinnon feels like the no-brainer here, right?
So, yeah, in general, let's look at the final weeks for McKinnon. We'll start at, even if we do the week 11 start, he had 1.4, 5.6, 14, 32.4.
Yeah, that was a good day.
34.2.
It's a better day.
12.8, 22.6, and 8.6. Same time frame that McKinnon or Pacheco was doing his solid stuff. McKinnon was dominating. It was basically just Clyde Edwards-Helaire just left the building, and these two were a two-headed monster that were very good at their roles.
Kind of surprised they haven't traded CEH or something for him.
You mentioned CEH, so we'll do that real quick. I mentioned also there was a third running back being drafted. It is still CEH. His by rank, it's RB 54, so that would translate to about 167 overall. He's going at 176 as an ADP. So the public has finally cooled off on CEH, and I think for good reason. What's shocking to me is that he's still being drafted.
Ahead of a lot of people.
I was going to say, I'd even think about Generic Prince before CEH, really.
There's a reason why Generic Prince is on this list, actually. It's because he has been getting a lot of run in camp, and there's a lot of hype on Generic Prince. Even with all the hype, he doesn't have an ADP.
Yeah, there's no reason to do anybody that's not McKinnon or Pacheco in terms of actually drafting.
Right. Yes, correct. That is 100% I have the exact same feelings on the matter. If you want to draft Pacheco, I wouldn't do it because it's too rich for my blood, but I get it, at least at some level. McKinnon's the one I would have circled. If that's the one that I would recommend. And then I would know who Generic Prince is, because if somebody gets hurt, there's a non-zero chance that down the line this year, as the season wears on, that Generic Prince will have some kind of job, particularly if somebody gets hurt. So I would know who that is.
Yeah, he's getting rave reviews in terms of especially the receiving game. So I would especially keep an eye out in terms of McKinnon's age and also injury history.
That too.
So
he's been fine since he's been back. Finally back.
Jason, how many Jerick McKinnon jerseys do you own?
Well, he's on the Chiefs now, so 0.
Oh, got it.
He's also on the Niners and the Vikings, and he didn't play much for either of them.
I forgot he was on the Vikings. Actually, I've completely just blocked that out. That's
what got him the big contract to go to the Niners.
Yeah, it could be just completely gone out of my brain. Like
games, maybe he actually played.
Yeah, just again completely deleted from my brain to make space for other stuff. Like just gone.
Like
okay.
Meg 2.
Yeah, the Meg 2. Just mostly the Meg 2 reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about things that are not defined, which is the wide receiver room. What a mess this is turning into. Remember when this was easy and you just talked about Tyreek Hill for 5 minutes and then we were done? No, boy, I miss those days. So now it is all over the map, and I can't believe how many of these people are being drafted. Leading the room is Kadarius Toney. No. For me, that's a no from me, dog. That's going to be a hard pass. But he is the number 1 wide receiver, at least on paper, for the team. He opens the season by rank as the wide receiver 48, which should translate to about 102 overall. So, like 8th, 9th round, whatever that is. His ADP is 98, so he's going largely in line with what his ranking is. I don't care for Kadarius Toney, the player. I don't care that he's on a good team now. How many games do you think Kadarius Toney's going to play? Because I'd say he'd be lucky to get 7 to 8, given his injury history. And
he already has one this year.
Yeah, he's already hurt.
He already is getting his knee cleaned out or whatever.
Yep.
And
I completely disagreed with him being drafted where he was when he came into the league. There's not an out.
And I'm pretty sure that the injury that he has, or the cleanup that he's doing, is because of an injury for his knee that's similar to Todd Gurley's. That causes the degenerative arthritis.
Yeah, having an arthritic knee is always good for a player whose skill is based on his ability to run fast.
And
that's good. Yeah. And also is a poor route runner. And when I say poor route runner, I'm actually being kind of nice about it.
But he's fast.
He's fast and he's good in the phone booth.
He's a crap route runner, to be very clear. There's not an ounce of route running in that man. And I don't see that getting better at any point in his career. I just don't. Kadarius Toney strikes me as the kind of player that once his natural athletic ability leaves him as he ages, he will be out of the league immediately.
So like next 2 years?
Pretty much. So maybe not, maybe a little longer than that. He'll cling around. But I am not, just to put a very, very fine point on this, I am not interested in Kadarius Toney at that ADP at all. And I would recommend that everyone stay far, far, far away. That seems like the kind of thing that you'll end up regretting later.
Yeah, the injury history has really got me for him. That sucks, especially since he's already injured. That's not a great look.
Well, and it's also his ADP seems just ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
A lot of talent, though. That's what's keeping him there.
I get the dart throw mentality. I get the upside mentality with it, but
real high.
That's a very hefty price to pay for a player that you're not expecting to contribute every single week.
To beat Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
Like that's and I circle back to my progression or projection inflation conversation.
I mean, he's going 3 spots ahead of Gabe Davis.
Right. For what is the same player. And it's like I get it to a point.
And Gabe Davis at least is on the field.
Right. I don't worry about Gabe Davis only playing 8 games. That's the downside with Kadarius Toney. I can't co-sign this Kadarius Toney. I think none of us can. I think everybody's advice is stay away. Which,
I mean, that might just be this whole room. Let's be honest.
This is where maybe not the whole room, but this is where we start getting the hate mail with the Kadarius Toney takes. You know what I mean? So the next player by ADP, we'll do it compliment sandwich style. You say something bad, we'll say something good. The next player by ADP is actually Skyy Moore. By ranking, wide receiver 55 translates to an overall ADP of about 133. That's what it should be, something like that. His ADP is 130.
That's pretty good.
I actually don't have a problem with this. Mike, I know you were very high on Skyy Moore, so I'll defer to you.
Yeah, in general, I was so big on him coming into the draft. And I was very disappointed with how, obviously, his rookie season went. Didn't go how I hoped. But you live and you learn. And he went from Western Michigan to the NFL. Like, that's a heck of a transition. And he's going to an Andy Reid offense. Again, not the easiest thing to do. So I still have high hopes for Skyy Moore. He's getting rave reviews in camp again. He's not going to be the punt returner. So he'll at least have that going for him because he was not good at that.
He was not good at that. That is true.
Almost cost him a game.
Yeah. So, and also, MVS is going to be MVS. I don't care about him at all. I think he's going to just be the deep threat that would eventually, like, occasionally catch the 60-yard bomb, just like he's been his entire career, which means that Skyy Moore being in the slot is prime spot for him to be. In terms of what Mahomes likes, what Skyy Moore can do best, it's just a match made in heaven. So at ADP especially, I am big on Skyy Moore this year. Again.
That's true. You got to stick to your guns. See, as an 11th round pick, I'm fine with it.
That's a perfect spot to take somebody like that.
Yeah, you're in that dart throw category where it's like, okay, by this point, I've pretty much filled out my wide receiver room. So if I can get somebody who's got some upside, cool. Like, I got no problem with this.
If you look at some of the players that are in, like, the range that he's going,
yeah,
we're like, wide receiver-wise in general, we're looking at Allen Lazard, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, Jacoby Myers, Rondale Moore. Like, come on. The upside is 10 times higher for Skyy Moore than it is for any of those players.
Right. So
Catching passes from Patrick Mahomes helps.
Exactly. So
and the fact that Juju is gone, who was in the slot majority of last year.
Right. Juju has a whole new job, whole new team, which we'll get into on a different show.
But he actually saw over 100 targets last year, which could make, if Skyy Moore saw that, more talent, more yards. He might actually break 1,000 yards this year if that's the case, and is healthy for all of it.
Don't know about the 1,000 yards, but it would be enough to where even if he got even close to it, an 11th round pick, getting close to that would be, you'd be happy with it. You wouldn't feel like you got
933. That's the only reason. So I'm like,
yeah.
And Moore, I think, is significantly talented, more talented than Juju when it comes to just metric wise.
I'd argue he was a top 3 talent in terms of wide receiver when he came out in the draft last year. Mm-hmm. But it's still so like I would put his over under at like 800.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm more.
Yeah,
more that neighborhood because they've got some other players that are in this room. It's actually a little deeper than it was when they had Juju last year, and who knows how this will exactly work out. But if you're talking about my 11th round pick got me, let's call it 850 and some touchdowns.
Yeah,
11th round pick, I'm pretty happy with that. Like and then there's upside for more.
They were making plays and using him.
Yeah, so.
As the motion player and things along those lines. So, like, they're making plays to get him open.
So we all agree, skip Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
Let someone else deal with that nightmare. Wait several rounds, and you can have Skyy Moore, which will be a much more dependable and happy thing to live with long term, more than likely, with way less risk. Because if your 11th round pick blows up, whatever. It's all good, baby.
Your 7th.
Yeah. You're gonna notice that. That's a thing you're gonna notice a lot more. You mentioned MVS. We'll get to MVS in a second because he's not actually the next one coming off the board. The next one for the Chiefs coming off the board is actually this year's rookie, Rashee Rice, which is interesting because he's by ranking the wide receiver 85, which would translate to about 211 overall. But because of the Chiefs, he's being drafted at ADP 155.
I mean, it's another player that, one, I can't say I loved his game coming out because he's a contested catch yak type player, which
not really something they need.
Yeah,
they have multiple guys that could do that. Like
he's Travis Kelce but smaller and less talented.
Right, and doesn't have the trust of the quarterback.
And it's also again, like we said last year, how Skyy Moore took some time getting used to the Andy Reid offense and coming from a smaller school and stuff. Rashee Rice is coming from SMU.
It's not that small of a school.
All right.
Okay.
I'm an AAC guy. That's
okay.
So
okay.
I'd say it's bigger than Western Michigan, I guess.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Not hard to do.
Rashee Rice is also less talented than Skyy Moore, so it's still just. I get all the videos that are coming out and the hype that's happening for him in camp, but I'm not doing anything with Rashee Rice.
I would have been happy to have Rashee Rice as a name to know for your waiver wire. and talk
Sure.
about it that way. But when you're telling me I have to not only draft him, but I have to draft him at around the 155 spot, yeah. If I'm doing that, something has gone badly wrong somewhere else in my draft. I'm not getting anywhere near this.
Yeah, if he's not your last position player, not having it.
Something has gone off the rails. So I can't get excited for this. This feels like the kind of thing that we just got done talking about good team, rookie on a good team, Skyy Moore syndrome, like, oh yeah, paint by numbers. He'll be out there, sure. I'm not convinced he's even going to be on the field.
Yeah, because like even with Skyy Moore, like I was able to convince myself, especially because of the fact of how much I felt Skyy Moore's talent would like translate to the field. But there are outside factors that are going to also circumstances for that. It's not just the fact that he's talented that's going to just put him on the field and let him produce. Rashee Rice is not near as talented as Skyy Moore, and also still in a crowded receiver room, and also still in a difficult offense to learn as a rookie. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm down on Bryce.
So is this
Real
the punt returner that we're looking at?
What?
Is this the punt returner we're looking at?
Is he? Or
Yeah.
is Skyy Moore?
No.
Is-
Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice. He's asking, will Rashee Rice run punts?
Oh,
He's
no. He's not that type of player.
I don't think he plays that role.
How would you
So-
put a contested catch guy
Yeah,
as the punt returner?
It's the
I
first
don't
guy.
think that's going to be his job, to be honest.
Honestly, I think Toney's probably going to be.
But again,
If
you have to be
he's
healthy to play. Yeah.
Right,
But-
when he's healthy, Toney's
Yeah.
probably going to be.
But I
Otherwise,
can't.
it's going to be Richie James.
It might be Richie James. That's actually where I was going to go.
That
It
makes
might
sense.
actually be Richie James because they don't care if Richie James gets killed. So, like, because what have you invested in that? Nothing. So, whereas Kadarius Toney, with a busted leg already, I might actually need him to do his job to make my offense work. So, I might be less inclined to want to do that. Whereas Richie James, let him get killed. I don't care. Like, I've spent $1.50 on this, and he's almost 30. Whatever. Like, it's the next name off the list though is still there, still on this team. A very poor man's Kadarius Toney, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who we have seen for years. I've seen the highlights coming out of camp. I've heard the reports. I don't care. I know what MVS is. I know what it is. By ranking, wide receiver 76, 178 overall. His ADP is 192. I actually agree with that. If you want to take a shot on MVS at the very, very end of your draft, because maybe a series of injuries happens, look, he's going to play. He's going to be on the field. He's a veteran, but I just don't care. You know what you're getting. It's a very, 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 very poor man's Gabe Davis. It's a very, 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 very poor man's Tyler Lockett. He doesn't have very good hands. He is reasonably fast, but he's not a polished route runner. He's not the kind of thing that is going to get you repeatable success. Could he catch a 60-yard touchdown and pay you off any one week? Absolutely. Absolutely, he could do that for you. But he's basically how do you say this, Mike? He's the wish version of Kadarius Toney. Like,
He sat there and played every single game last year. He had double-digit PPR points 4 times.
Yeah.
On a
More than I
Kansas City offense.
yeah, I was going to say, that's actually better than I thought he did.
Exactly. But none of them were even the big boom games. Nothing went past 15. So, like, he was just a bad deep threat.
He's a literally 1-for-2 guy.
He's good enough to play in the real NFL, but he's not something – he's a better NFL player than he is fantasy option. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah.
In the real NFL, he has a little more value than in the fantasy world. It's just not something I want to get invested in. Like, it's priced accordingly for a change. Look at that. It's actually pretty cheap. But I would just stay away from it. It's not something I want to get involved in. But it speaks to the idea that you have 3 running backs with an ADP and you have 4 wide receivers with an ADP. And we haven't even gotten to the elephant in the room that we're going to get to in a minute. The volume monster that plays tight end for them. It's nuts to me that you're talking about 8 players with an ADP plus Mahomes, so 9 all day. It's the same problem we have every year.
Just don't know who's going to be.
Some of these guys just shouldn't be being drafted. So I agree with Skyy more, and I agree with Jerick McKinnon, and I want nothing else. I'm just avoiding the rest of it at this point. Now, we will, just to close out the room, they do have Richie James. Richie James does get he comes from the same system. So if you're going to hang your hat on Richie James, he did play in the same, because I believe it's their OC came from the Giants, right? Because they changed OCs, not Andy Reid. It's something.
The former Bears head coach.
It might be that. Either way, Richie James knows this system. That's why he's been standing out in camp. So he's walked in. He knows the system from previous stints in his NFL career. The problem is it's Richie James. He's just
it's
every wide receiver not named MVS has stood out in training camp for some reason or another, or Toney.
Pretty much. Like, even MVS has had a couple of good days that people are talking about.
Toney just hasn't done anything because he's been hurt, but like every wide receiver has made a name for himself.
Justin Ross, Justin Watson, the 2 Justins that are on the team.
So it's like, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So Richie James is not really something that's worth drafting. Maybe if we're wrong, he's a name to know for the waiver wire. Is kind of what I would say about Richie James. Maybe if we're wrong, or if somebody gets hurt, there is a universe where I could see Richie James starting for the Chiefs. But it's going to take something. It's not just going to happen by attrition. Somebody's going to have to get hurt. Somebody's going to have to get hurt bad.
Not even somebody. Somebody's.
Yeah, somebody's is a good way to put that. Yeah, there's going to need to be some stuff. Richie James, this is the epitome of don't get sucked in by the camp hype stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get suckered in by that. There's a reason he doesn't have an ADP. It is worth knowing that he's on the team, though. Same thing with Justin Watson and Justin Ross. Same thing. They don't have ADPs. And if you don't have an ADP on this team, given what I just laid out, holy crap. Because everybody has an ADP. So it's not worth it. And then
I'm surprised that Patrick Mahomes' backup doesn't have an ADP at this point.
The final player with an ADP, the elephant in the room, Travis Kelce. This is what's funny to me. Travis Kelce going to get his, right? We all know this. He's the tight. Hey, look, Travis Kelce's still on the team. He's the tight end 1. He's actually, by ranking, would be 4 overall. His ADP is 6. 6 overall is Travis Kelce if you want him this year. And I'll tell you, it's not for me. That doesn't float my boat, taking a tight end in the first round like that. I will say this.
The first round.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to recommend it. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't understand.
The positional advantage there is so astronomical. He had 65 more PPR points than any other tight end last year.
Yep. And that's the crux of it.
That is a monstrous advantage.
It's a whole other player.
Yeah. It's just, like, I get it, but days of past, it used to be where you could sit there and get Travis Kelce either at the 112 or like the 2-1, 2-2.
Yeah.
That was perfect. Prime spot.
That's when I was okay with doing it. I was happy about it.
That was a good, like, even then you were like, should I do it or should I just, go wide receiver, running back type players? But you were just like, all right, yeah, actually I can take the positional advantage at Kelce. At 106, oh, that's rich. That's rich.
Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't understand the appeal.
Yeah,
it
makes sense.
But I won't be doing it.
I don't think I can do that.
I won't be doing it myself for my teams. I can't deal with it. I can't justify it. I'm not going to, give you the side eye in the draft room or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can't do it for my team.
Yeah. Gives me the nicotine, antiness.
Nicotine jitters.
Yeah, I'm like, nope, can't do it.
I can't get comfortable in my own skin.
Get off! What is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Whoa.
I understand. I just can't do it. I won't live with it. It's too big of a risk. But I do understand the appeal, and I do understand why other people that aren't me would consider this. It's not
I would
that.
much rather sit there and draft, accordingly for a middle of the first round when it comes to like a top end wide receiver or a top 5 running back, and look later in the season as to how my season was going, and then look into trading for Travis Kelce.
Yeah, if I was trying to make the playoffs
Yeah.
or win a
Like,
championship, really.
if I'm on the brink or if I'm doing really well, one of those type things, I'm trying to push my team over the top. That's when I'm looking like, all right, yeah, let me look at the team that has Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews and be like, let me just solidify my tight end position. But I'd much rather go for a like Saquon Barkley or something like that. Yeah, Austin Eckler type in the first round, and then get like a Njoku or I don't know, a Conquo, whatever it might be, later in the draft.
Yeah, way later.
Yeah,
like later. Like that's like it. I get it. He's so dominant at his position that I understand the thought process on a good team.
If you don't do Kelce and you don't do Andrews, I'm not touching the position until
I'm waiting.
12th.
12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
12, 13, 14 is where I find myself, and I do a double tap, actually, typically. I'll do 12, 13, because by then I've already filled out my running back and wide receiver room, and I have my quarterback.
Yeah, that's just how the position is. I mean, Kelce is also at a pretty high age at Apex. Like, I understand that tight ends in general are productive in their 30s, but and
because
Kelce
it takes so damn long to learn the position.
Yeah, and Kelce in general is a freak of nature.
Yeah,
doesn't look like he's going to slow down, but it's also like, could it happen? Of course, could happen. He could just not. He could like become injury prone out of nowhere. He could slow down. Like,
well, you saw like a good example to me is Jason Witten. Yeah. Not the same level of athlete, but you saw a point where eventually even he is like, dude, he can't even run 2 yards and turn around anymore. Like, he's just so broken.
He just looks like a stone soldier type thing where it's like, so blocky.
Because he's just old.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is when you get old. You just get there where it's like the game looks like the game goes at the same speed, but he can't run at that pace anymore. So, and it's Andy Reid. They're going to manufacture ways to get him the ball, but I can't deal with this. It's too high.
Yeah.
Mike, and now you and I need to get out of the way and let Jason talk about something that objectively does not matter, which is Noah Gray. So, Jason, I'm just gonna get out of the way and let you spin your wheels on Noah Gray. Go nuts, dude. Have fun. Take the rest of the time. Take as long as you want.
Well, it's just I continue to say clearly Kelce's a beast. He does excellent work, but man, they drafted Noah Gray for a reason, and when he is out there, he is effective. Well, yeah, okay, blocking is part of the job, but when he is, if he ever gets that chance to be the tight end 1 for the team, it is going to be so much fun because he is just as talented in my mind as Travis Kelce. It's just you're stuck behind him. I mean, that sucks, but it's just part of it. I mean,
here can be that bet then for this.
What? I'm sorry. What was that? That little comment in there about just as talented as Travis Kelce? That's fascinating.
If Noah Gray starts any games, if he starts a game, what are you putting his over-under at for receiving yards?
I mean, assuming he gets the exact Kelce role, I'm going to say it's...
Kelce is out. Kelce is gone. He's not playing the game. Noah Gray is the starting tight end for the Chiefs. What are you putting his over-under for receiving yards at? If he's 90, just as talented as Travis Kelce. What?
94.
That number starts with a 9?
Oh, my. I will easily take that as an under every time he plays it. If Kelce misses a single game next year and Noah Gray starts, there is 0 chance, in my opinion, he hits 90 yards.
I'd be shocked if he got 40.
I thought you were going to say like 40 or 50.
I thought you were going to say like 45, and I'd be like, okay, I don't really want to take this bet with you because that's
right. But I'll take under 90 in a heartbeat.
You're talking about double what I think is even realistically possible.
I don't know what to tell you. I like I said, I've bought in on this guy because I think he is uber talented.
Yeah, that's why he's been on the field as a blocking tight end for 3 years now.
Behind Travis Kelce, the greatest tight end. Yes. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean,
there's other pass catchers. He could have just been one of those. Blake Bell's seen almost as much time as Noah Gray.
Oh, snap. He went there with Blake Bell.
And he's the quarterback tight end.
that's probably
He's the one that QB sneaks so that Patrick Mahomes doesn't dislocate his knee again.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I mean, didn't Kelce do one too? QB sneak.
I mean, I'm sure
Last year?
that with how elaborate their playbook is, with the whole like spin around and do-si-do thing they've done last year, like I'm sure they've done Travis Kelce as a QB sneak too.
It makes sense. Dude's big.
As long as it's not Patrick Mahomes.
I'm just blown away that you think 90 is in the cards for Noah Gray. I knew
If
the
he
love
plays
runs deep, but
if he starts a single game without Travis Kelce, I guarantee he does not hit 90 yards.
Man, I'm just like I said with let's see, how many did I gave Kelce 122 targets this year. So you're looking at 7 targets a game roughly. Catches.
that feels low actually.
I try and be somewhat realistic. Somewhat.
Really?
In some areas, yes.
Depending on the topic.
Well, okay, I have, for example, Noah Gray is going to have 33 targets this year is what I have him at. 26 receptions and 292 yards. Not unrealistic. It's just part of how it goes. I mean, I try and set out the players I think are going to have value, and I go with that, and that's part of it.
So even last year, Travis Kelce hit 90 yards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times. He played every game. So out of 17 games, he hit it 8 times. Not even half.
He's also 32.
What you're hanging your hat on is the fact that he falls into the end zone at an incredible clip.
Well, he said 90 yards.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know. I know what he said. I was there.
Like, I know that Travis Kelce in general is still he led the league in red zone receiving touchdowns with 10. So, touchdowns are definitely a part of his fantasy appeal. But if you're saying Noah Gray is going to hit 90 yards at any point, it's a tough order.
Especially considering you're assuming that they wouldn't change schemes slightly to throw to the running backs more, work the wide receiver core a little harder. You're assuming they're just going to go full bore. Go get it, Noah Gray. You're as good as Travis Kelce. You could do the same job. I am not convinced
Jason
that's
told
how
me
that
you were
would
as good as
work
Travis.
at all.
Let's go.
I am not convinced that's how that would work. That seems like specious reasoning to me.
I could see Fortson.
That should actually be the name of our Thursday show, is specious reasoning. The problem is I don't think anybody knows what that means. Google it.
I could see Fortson having just as much receiving game as Noah Gray if Travis Kelce left.
I can see
Or
Jerick
not
McKinnon
left,
just
but-
getting some extra targets.
Yeah.
That'd be the easiest way to do it.
I don't know, man. I just
You want
I-
to
like I said, I
keep putting
continue.
6-packs on stuff, Jason? Because you're already in for a 12-pack. You want to?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I continue to like him. So I think that given the opportunity, he would definitely surpass a lot of what a lot of people would expect him to. So
I think Noah Gray is a guy.
Yes, I think that he is an NFL player. NFL player Noah Gray.
He is a much better athlete than me, but he is
He's a much better athlete than me, but that bar is so low that it's a tripping hazard in hell.
in terms of NFL athletes, especially at the tight end position, I think he is a guy. I think there are better players than him for sure. Obviously, Kelce is a part of that, but yeah, I don't think he's anything special. But I do think that if Kelce were to go down, yeah, the waiver wire would go crazy for Noah Gray.
I think people would be blowing all their fab, and I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah, they'd be doing 70% of their fab on it.
Yeah, even more maybe, because some
Probably.
people are not rational. So they
just because of how terrible the tight end position is and the Chiefs' offense,
And it'd be the person especially that has Travis Kelce, because you'd be desperate. Because
Right.
you'd have no way to backfill that. Hence the reason why I won't take him at 106. I have no way to fix that problem if it blows up. I'm completely pot committed to it. I don't like it. It's scary. Technically, I guess you could make that argument in reverse, where it's like, well, if your first round running back blows up, It's like, yeah, but that's why I take a lot of running backs early.
That's why.
I get many of them for a reason.
I mean, anytime your first round pick goes down, you're in a pretty
You're in a bad spot.
bad situation.
You're in a bad spot. But there's lots and lots and lots of wide receivers that could theoretically come back or run, and there's a handful of running backs that I might be able to backfill. Whereas your tight end goes down, it's like, no, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Took long enough on Travis Kelce just because of the
No,
crazy
we just
thing with
vamped on
Gray.
Noah Gray because I knew this was going to happen. That's why I put Noah Gray on the sheet. I could have even just left Noah Gray off the sheet and spared
And
him.
I still would have brought it back up.
I know. I knew we were going to end up here. I noticed he doesn't want to take your six-pack bet on this one, Mike.
Yeah.
He doesn't
I'll take
want
it.
to
I
take
don't
it.
care. That's fine.
Okay. If
I'll do it.
Noah Gray starts a game with Travis Kelce not playing, he will not hit 90 yards in a
That's
single game.
All right. Mark it down. We're up to 18 beers. We're up.
Now we need to just keep more shows so I can just keep racking up my fridge.
Oh, we got plenty more shows. We got plenty more shows.
Did
we're
we ever
only-
mention the backup QB? Did we ever say the name?
I believe so, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Blaine Gabbert,
Okay. I just want to make sure people know.
It's Yo
because
Gabbert.
It does
Yeah.
happen.
who's trying to become Wish Gardner Minshew.
Right. That's a good way to put that, actually.
Yeah, he's doing the mustache, the mullet, all that stuff.
Gardner Minshew. Oh boy. All right.
What
Well,
was it last year? Was it
Chad
no,
Henne.
not Henne.
it was Henny,
sort of stuff, but I wanted to make
Which
sure.
is tired.
But that's part of the reason he's.
which is Dollar
Blaine Gabbert's
Tree
son of-
Blaine Gabbert. I think that's what that ultimately is. So
So we're moving up.
yeah, we've made it to
slightly.
Wish from Dollar Tree. Yeah,
At least he's a former first round pick.
right. That team, something, man. I still can't believe there's that many people being drafted, but we do this show every year, and it goes broadly the same. And people won't listen to anything I said at the beginning of this, and we're just going to get all the hate mail in the universe, and that's fine. That's fine. Give me all the hate mail. Pump the algorithm. I'm good with it. Go ahead
Well,
and do that.
They're also going to hate my Noah Gray take, so it works out just fine.
Yep. We're going to bookend it with hatred.
Gotcha.
We'll
Got you
bookend it
covered.
with all the hatred.
And
Yep.
don't worry, Twitter is right here. By all means, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll be happy to dunk on you on Twitter all day long about how you're wrong about.
There you go, Jason.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not
I had to
Twitter
figure out
anymore.
how to.
I'm sorry. It's not Twitter anymore. It's called X.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And it's not tweeting;
Text me.
it's posting.
Yeah.
Because it's
yeah.
no longer a tweet; it's a post again.
Yeah, whatever.
With
Whatever. Folks,
I'll meet a postman.
today is always a hard day when we have to do the stupid Chiefs show. So it's actually one that I'm glad is wrapping up at the end here. But when we get back for tomorrow, we actually do have a run of shows that are going to be a little bit more divisive.
Let's go.
We're approaching Jason's favorite show of the year, but it's not tomorrow. It'll be that's actually the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow's show, we will be discussing the Las Vegas Raiders.
Ooh.
And so until then, keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at ImportantNonsense.com. Kaboom!